How long have you wanted to be governor? Both when you were maybe early career and thought that might be something you wanted to do versus when everybody assumed you were running and then assumed Mark Robinson was running. What was the time period for that?
I would say I really thought seriously about running for governor starting in 2021, simply because at that point I knew Governor Cooper was coming to the end of his term in 2024. He was term limited, so he could not run again. I had just won re-election and thought that we need to have somebody strong who can win as a Democrat here in North Carolina, and I've proven that. You know, I've won twice here in North Carolina, even though President Trump has won North Carolina both times. And I'm the only Democratic Attorney General in the country who represents a state that Trump won, that Trump won twice. So I was thinking about that, and I would say that's when it became real and crystallized in my mind. And before that, my whole career trajectory has just been about trying to find the slot where I feel like I can do the most good, and to me, this is just the natural next step on what can I do to help people in North Carolina enjoy their lives more. I mean, I think that's what government should be about.
When you think about you were the only one in the race for a long time, and then, Justice Morgan got in, and his criticism has been that you're the heir apparent, that, the party, Morgan Jackson had decided, that Cooper had decided that you were his successor. What do you think of that criticism, and how much truth is in it, or if you think there isn't?
Well, I respect Justice Morgan. He has served the state well for decades on the bench here in North Carolina. I think the same way in 2021 it started coming crystallized to me that running for governor made sense. I think other people had the same thought. It's not a unique thought by any stretch. And so when at the beginning of the year I decided, yes, I'm going to jump into this, I'm going to launch this campaign for governor, it's no surprise. I think every legislator, maybe but one or two, has endorsed me. Practically the entire congressional delegation has endorsed me. Something like over 200 elected officials, current and former, have endorsed me. The leader of the state house, the leader of the state senate, and then literally tens of thousands of people have supported this campaign financially. And so it's not as though someone chose this and said, we hereby grant this or give this to Josh. It's because people see the logic of my campaign and know that I'm good at my job. I mean, I've been fighting for people as Attorney General and delivering for them, and they want that kind of service in the governor's office in 2025.
You were also the only one running for a while. I mean, that's when you got most of those endorsements. Cooper was just the week before Morgan announced, and you knew that he might announce, I guess. So did you, I guess, what do you think about that? And this comes from within the Democratic Party too, and Morgan, about there not being as competitive primaries where there's a larger field because the party, whether it's the grassroots party establishment, whoever decides that they want to get behind one candidate, or like when Jackson stepped aside for Beasley, eventually. What do you think about how that is the state of the party now?
Yeah, well, I always fully anticipated having primary opposition. I never thought I would get the Democratic nomination without having to campaign for it. And my plan has been to work very hard to earn every single vote that I can in the Democratic primary, win the nomination, and then work equally hard and win every single vote I can in the general election. That's how you win elections. That's how I've had success in the past. I've never lost. I don't hope to lose in the coming year. And so all these folks, they could have held back and said, well, Josh, you're running, but I don't know who else is going to get in. I don't know. I think people were very comfortable endorsing me and building this campaign in record-setting fashion because they said, you're the one. You're the one who gives us our best chance at winning in 2024, and you're the one who can do the job and do it well.
I've noticed that in your speeches, even since Morgan has been in, it's looking ahead to the general and Robinson. Is that pretty much your same strategy that you'll have through the primary? That here's why you specifically, you feel like you stand out more than than Morgan, but also what you're going to do versus Mark Robinson? Are you just looking at how, what you're expecting, assuming you win in March, and taking him on head to head?
Whoever wins the Democratic nomination must win the general election in 2024. If it is Mike Morgan, I will give him my full-throated support. I think it's going to be me. Mark Robinson represents a real threat to the future prosperity of this state. He is so extreme in every fashion, wanting to completely ban abortion, with no exceptions, believing that the election of 2020 was stolen, Joe Biden stole it, saying that he would not be surprised if 9/11 was an inside job, calling public school teachers wicked people, denying that the climate crisis is real, calling it a hoax, even questioning the Holocaust, calling it hogwash. I mean, these views are so beyond the pale. I mean, you have the Republican Party, and he's to the end, maybe beyond the end of the right of the Republican Party. We have got to win this race to keep North Carolina moving forward in the sensible way the state has been governed traditionally. And it's very important that we have a counterbalance to the Republican General Assembly. Mark Robinson would provide no restraint on them. In fact, he would be an accelerant on their extreme tendencies. It is urgent that we elect a Democrat to the governorship. I believe I'm the best candidate. Mike Morgan clearly believes he is, and I will certainly trust whatever the voters decide.
What would you do? I mean, obviously you and Cooper are friends and colleagues, worked together a long time. I assume you don't agree on everything. What would you do differently than Cooper has as governor?
I really respect Governor Cooper. I mean, I've known him now 23 years. I've worked with him very closely when I headed the Consumer Protection Division for him. I've worked with him closely as the lawyer for the state, and obviously he's the biggest client for the state. And so we end up seeing the world through a very similar lens. We have a similar worldview. We have a similar sense of what's politically possible and how you get to the best outcome you possibly can. We're different people. I'm my own person. I'm sure I'll have a slightly different governing style. But for the most part, I just think the world of him. I mean, I do know he likes ties. I don't like ties. And so that's one way in which we're different. But that's because we're different people, and our styles may end up being different. We'll just have to see.
Right, be somewhat, well, I mean, as hurricane relief, there's been a lot of criticism of that, about the delays for that. Is that, how would you have handled that differently? Is there anything else that you would do differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy 7 years after the fact to say, oh, I would have done this exactly this way, but I don't know what the issues were at the time in terms of who was available to be put into that position, or what were the constraints. I mean, I just...
So there's nothing that you would do differently than Cooper?
He has done a great job moving the state forward in very difficult political circumstances. I mean, he got rid of HB2 even with a Republican supermajority. He has gotten ingrained into the law a commitment to reduce carbon emissions to zero by 2050. He got Medicaid expansion through this Republican majority, supermajority in the legislature. He has helped to recruit incredible industries to the state. Toyota, Wolfspeed's doing a massive investment in Chatham County. VinFast, the EV, Boom Supersonic. There's so much that's going on well here in the state, and he has been instrumental into all of those successes, and I want to keep that progress going.
Is there anything I haven't asked about Robinson that you want to address, that you haven't been able to address? Or, I mean, there's such a variety of topics, to pick. Is there anything you see as most important to talk about, or most egregious, difference, or anything like that? And obviously seeking Trump's endorsement, he was there this week.
I'm running for governor because I love this state, and I want this state to be the place where people can achieve success, whether that's starting a small business or getting a good paying job, whether they send their kids to college, through school to go to college, or they can go start their career too. We want this to be a place of opportunity for everybody. I have been fighting for the people of North Carolina as Attorney General the last 7 years, tackling the opioid crisis, eliminating the backlog of untested rape kits, protecting kids from child sex abuse, taking on polluters who are poisoning people's drinking water, protecting people's fundamental rights, whether that's the right to vote or the right to make decisions about their own bodies. Women should decide for themselves about whether to have a baby or not the politicians in Raleigh. And so that's what I've been doing as Attorney General. I want to take that same fighting spirit and love for the people of North Carolina to become their governor. The choice between me and Mark Robinson could not be starker. I am a fighter for the people. He is a fighter for the culture wars. It's about division instead of unity. It's about hate instead of tolerance. It's about fake issues instead of real challenges that we need to address. I think the choice for the voters is going to be as clear as possible next November, and I am confident that they will make the right choice.